In Frank Herbert's seminal work Dune, the character Leto II, the God Emperor, presents a terrifying philosophical paradox known as the Golden Path. His premise is counterintuitive. To save humanity from stagnation and extinction, he must become the ultimate tyrant. He enforces a peace so suffocating and a rule so absolute that it forces the human race to evolve. The pressure of his tyranny is designed to induce a biological and psychological resistance to authority, ensuring that once his reign ends, humanity will never again submit to a master. It is a story about how oppression, when taken to its extreme, inadvertently creates the conditions for absolute liberation. For the past 4 decades, geopolitical analysts have viewed the Islamic Republic of Iran through the lens of its failures, its collapsing currency, its draconian social restrictions, and its isolation. But this perspective misses the tectonic shift occurring beneath the surface. While Ali Khamenei is certainly no prescient sci fi strategist, the regime he leads has inadvertently simulated the conditions of the Golden Path. By attempting to construct a hermetically sealed theocracy, the Islamic Republic has subjected the Iranian population to an evolutionary pressure cooker. The result is a supreme irony. A regime obsessed with total control has accidentally forged a population that is culturally, economically, and intellectually immune to it. To understand the modern Iranian psyche, we must revisit the chaotic ideological landscape of the 1979 revolution. It is often forgotten that the revolution was not a monolith. It was a coalition of Islamists, Marxists, and Soviet sympathizing communists. In the early 1980s, to consolidate power, the newly formed Islamic Republic systematically purged the left. Thousands of Marxist intellectuals, Tudeh party members, and socialists were imprisoned or executed. The regime's goal was simple political survival, the elimination of rivals. However, the long term sociological consequence was a total inoculation against collectivism. While Western universities today grapple with the resurgence of Marxist theory and the expansion of state power, the Iranian populace has been vaccinated against these ideas by history. They watched the promise of a state managed utopia dissolve into firing squads and rationing. By violently excising the left, the regime destroyed the very political machinery that might have offered a secular alternative to their rule. In the vacuum, the Iranian public developed a fierce, pragmatic individualism. The modern Iranian protester is not asking for better state management or a reformed socialist collective. They are demanding negative liberty, the removal of the state from their private lives. The regime sought to create a dependent flock. Instead, by discrediting the very concept of state ideology, they created a generation of skeptics. By the way, a quick break to say this video is sponsored by me. I'm currently a student, and these deep dives take dozens of hours of research and editing to produce. If you value this kind of independent analysis and want to help me keep the lights on while I finish my degree, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. It's the best way to ensure I can keep making these without corporate sponsors. Now, back to the script. In Dune, the harsh environment of Arrakis kills the weak, leaving only the strongest to survive. In Iran, the economy serves as this harsh environment. The Islamic Republic aimed to create an economy of resistance, a state controlled system insulated from global markets. Through corruption, mismanagement, and the crushing weight of sanctions, they instead created an economic wasteland where the national currency is fundamentally broken. However, this breakdown has forced the population to adapt in fascinating ways. Because the state failed to act as a reliable economic steward, the Iranian people were forced to build their own parallel financial structures. The average Iranian citizen has become financially literate out of sheer necessity. To preserve wealth against 40% annual inflation, shopkeepers and families navigate complex portfolios of gold, foreign currencies, and increasingly cryptocurrency. This has resulted in a massive, sophisticated shadow economy that operates entirely outside the government's view. This informal sector utilizes ancient Hawale trust networks updated for the digital age, effectively bypassing the banking system. The intended effect of sanctions was to squeeze the regime by starving the country. The unintended secondary effect, however, has been the creation of an anti fragile population. The people have learned to survive, and in some cases, thrive without the state. They have decoupled their survival from the government's competence, meaning the regime no longer holds the leverage of economic dependency over its citizens. The final and most profound irony is the regime's impact on faith itself. The Islamic Republic staked its legitimacy on the fusion of mosque and the state, declaring the supreme leader to be the ultimate representative of the divine. In political science, this creates a dangerous monopoly. When the state claims to speak for God, every failure of the state becomes a failure of God. Every act of corruption by a government official stains the religion they claim to represent. By forcing religion into the public sphere, the regime has inadvertently triggered a massive wave of secularization, or more accurately, anti clericalism. Data suggests that Iranians are becoming one of the most secular populations in the Middle East, not despite the theocracy, but because of it. The people have not necessarily abandoned a spiritual belief, but they have violently rejected the institution of the clergy. They have concluded that the only way to preserve the sanctity of their faith is to separate it entirely from the corruption of the state. The God Emperor sought to bind the soul of the nation to his throne. Instead, he has ensured the separation of mosque and the state for generations to come, as the people now view political Islam not as a path to salvation, but as a mechanism of graft. The narrative of Iran is often painted as tragic, and rightfully so. The suffering, the executions, and the wasted potential are undeniable realities. However, if we look through the lens of the Golden Path, we see a different outcome forming on the horizon. Totalitarianism relies on a specific dynamic, a powerful state dominating a weak, dependent, or ignorant population. The Islamic Republic has spent 40 years trying to be the powerful state, but its policies have paradoxically ensured that its population is none of those things. They are not ignorant, they are highly educated. They are not dependent, they have built their own economy. They are not compliant, they have been vaccinated against ideology. Ali Khamenei intended to build a permanent cage. Instead, he functioned as a cruel evolutionary filter. He has accelerated the social development of the Iranian nation, compressing a century of modernization and secularization into a few painful decades. When the shell of this regime finally cracks, whether through internal collapse or transition, what emerges will not be a broken people. It will be a nation uniquely equipped for the 21st century, skeptical of authority, economically resilient, and fiercely protective of their liberty. The tyrant's work is nearly done. He has inadvertently created a people who no longer need him.